Lucas helped Maya to her feet, his hands gentle yet steady as she swayed slightly from the shock. A small cut on her forehead was bleeding, and her dress was torn at the shoulder where they had hit the cobblestones. Despite her injuries, Maya felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude toward this stranger, who had risked his own safety to protect her. "Are you hurt badly?" Lucas asked, his voice filled with genuine concern. His own uniform was dusty and torn at the sleeve, but he seemed unaware of his own minor injuries. "We should get you to the palace medical quarters to have that cut looked at properly." Maya touched her forehead gingerly, surprised to see blood on her fingertips. The adrenaline had masked most of the pain, but now she could feel a dull throbbing where her head had struck the ground. "I think I'm all right," she replied softly, though her voice trembled slightly. "Thank you for saving me. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there." Other guards had arrived at the scene, including Sergeant Martinez, Lucas's immediate superior. He quickly assessed the situation and ordered 2 of his men to escort the shaken carriage driver to the guard station for questioning about how his horses had escaped. The crowd of onlookers was slowly dispersing, though many continued to stare at Maya and Lucas with curiosity and concern. "Captain Rivera, take the young lady to see Dr. Harrison immediately," Sergeant Martinez instructed. "Make sure she receives proper medical attention, and then file a complete report about the incident. I want every detail documented." He paused, looking at Lucas with approval. "You showed excellent judgment and courage today. The captain will hear about this." As Lucas gently guided Maya toward a side entrance to the palace, she felt overwhelmed by the surreal nature of the situation. Just an hour ago, she had been an ordinary servant girl walking to market, admiring the palace from outside its walls. Now she was being escorted through the very gates she had gazed at so longingly, by a guard who had literally saved her life. The palace corridors were even more magnificent than Maya had imagined. Tapestries depicting historical battles and royal ceremonies hung from the walls, while marble statues of former kings and queens stood in elaborate alcoves. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across the polished floors, and the air smelled faintly of roses and expensive perfume. Maya tried not to stare too obviously, but everything around her seemed like a fairy tale come to life. Dr. Harrison's medical quarters were located in the palace's west wing, a comfortable room filled with shelves of medicines and medical instruments. The elderly physician had been serving the royal family for over 20 years and was known for his gentle manner and skilled healing abilities. He examined Maya's injuries with practiced efficiency, while Lucas waited nearby, still watching her with protective concern. "The cut is not serious, but it will need proper cleaning and bandaging," Dr. Harrison explained as he worked. "You may have a small scar, but it should fade with time. You were very fortunate that Captain Rivera acted so quickly." He applied a soothing ointment to the wound and wrapped it with clean white bandages. "You should rest today and avoid any strenuous activity." While the doctor worked, Maya found herself stealing glances at Lucas. She had never been this close to one of the palace guards before, and she was struck by how different he seemed from what she had imagined. Rather than being cold and intimidating, he appeared genuinely kind and approachable. His dark hair was slightly disheveled from their fall, and she noticed a small scar above his left eyebrow that suggested he had faced danger before. Lucas, meanwhile, was struggling with emotions he had never experienced. Something about Maya's quiet strength and grace touched him deeply. Even injured and shaken, she maintained her dignity and showed concern for others rather than focusing on her own pain. He found himself wanting to know more about her life beyond these brief morning encounters he had observed from afar. After Dr. Harrison finished treating Maya's injuries, Lucas offered to escort her home to ensure she arrived safely. Maya hesitated, knowing that her employer would be wondering where she was with the morning provisions. But the thought of walking alone so soon after the frightening accident made her grateful for his offer. "I live in the servants' quarters behind the Pemberton house," Maya explained as they walked through the palace courtyard. "Master Pemberton is a silk merchant, and I help manage his household along with 2 other girls. I should have been back with their breakfast an hour ago." Lucas nodded, understanding the difficult position she was in. Servants who failed to complete their duties promptly often faced harsh consequences, including loss of employment. "I'll speak with your master personally if needed," he offered. "I'm certain he'll understand once he learns about the circumstances." As they made their way through the city streets, Maya and Lucas found themselves talking more easily than either had expected. Maya learned that Lucas came from a farming family in the countryside and had joined the Guard to help support his widowed mother and younger sister. His dedication to protecting others stemmed from losing his father to bandits when he was just 16 years old. Lucas discovered that Maya was remarkably well educated for someone in her position. Her father had been a teacher before his death from illness 3 years earlier, and he had ensured his daughter could read and write fluently. She sent most of her wages to her mother in the neighboring village and dreamed someday of opening a small school for children whose families couldn't afford proper education. When they reached the Pemberton house, Master Pemberton himself was waiting in the courtyard, his face red with anger. "Where have you been, girl?" he demanded loudly. "The family has been waiting for their breakfast, and here you are strolling about with palace guards as if you have nothing better to do." Before Maya could respond, Lucas stepped forward and spoke in his official capacity. "Sir, this young woman was involved in a serious accident near the palace this morning. She was nearly killed by a runaway carriage and required immediate medical attention." His voice was respectful but firm, clearly indicating that Maya was under his protection. Master Pemberton's angry expression quickly changed to one of surprise and concern as Lucas explained the details of the incident. The merchant had heard about the runaway carriage from other neighbors and now realized the gravity of what had happened. His tone softened considerably as he looked at Maya's bandaged forehead and torn dress. "My goodness, Maya, why didn't you say so immediately?" Master Pemberton asked, now feeling embarrassed by his harsh words. "Are you seriously injured? Should you be working today at all?" He turned to Lucas with newfound respect. "Thank you, Captain, for protecting one of our household members. We are deeply in your debt." Lucas assured Master Pemberton that Maya should rest for the remainder of the day, and the merchant readily agreed to give her time to recover. As Lucas prepared to return to his duties at the palace, he found himself reluctant to leave Maya's side. Something profound had happened between them during those frightening moments and the quiet walk home. "Will you be all right?" Lucas asked quietly, his eyes searching Maya's face for any sign of lingering distress. Maya nodded, touched by his continued concern for her welfare. "Thanks to you, I will be fine," she replied. "I don't know how I can ever repay your kindness." Lucas was quiet for a moment, then spoke softly so only Maya could hear. "Perhaps when you're feeling better, you might allow me to walk with you to market one morning. I would like to ensure your safety on these streets." The invitation surprised and pleased Maya more than she had expected. She had never imagined that someone like Lucas would be interested in spending time with an ordinary servant girl like herself. But the sincerity in his eyes told her that his interest was genuine and honorable. "I would like that very much," Maya replied, a gentle smile crossing her face despite the pain from her injuries. "I usually leave for market just after sunrise." As Lucas walked back toward the palace, both he and Maya felt that their lives had taken an unexpected and wonderful new direction. Neither could have guessed that morning how much their worlds were about to change. 3 days later, Maya's injuries had healed enough for her to resume her normal duties. She woke before dawn, as was her custom, but found herself taking extra care with her appearance. She brushed her long, dark hair until it shone and chose her best dress, a simple but clean blue cotton garment that her mother had sewn for her birthday. Her heart fluttered with nervous excitement at the thought of seeing Lucas again. As she stepped outside the Pemberton house, Maya was surprised to find Lucas already waiting near the garden gate. He stood straight and alert in his pressed uniform, but his face broke into a warm smile when he saw her approaching. The sight of him there, having kept his promise, filled Maya with a happiness she had never experienced before. "Good morning, Maya," Lucas said softly, falling into step beside her as they began walking toward the market district. "How are you feeling today? The bandage is much smaller now." Maya touched her forehead self-consciously, where only a small piece of cloth now covered the healing cut. "Dr. Harrison says it's healing well. I should be able to remove the bandage completely in a few more days." She glanced at Lucas sideways, still finding it hard to believe this handsome guard was walking with her. "Thank you for coming. I wasn't entirely certain you would." Lucas looked genuinely surprised by her comment. "Did you think I would break my word?" he asked. "I told you I wanted to ensure your safety, and I meant it. Besides," he added more quietly, "I found myself looking forward to seeing you again." As they walked through the awakening city, Maya and Lucas discovered how comfortable they felt together. Their conversation flowed naturally from topic to topic, covering everything from their childhoods to their hopes for the future. Maya learned that Lucas spent his free time reading books about history and geography, unusual interests for a guard. Lucas was amazed by Maya's intelligence and her passionate desire to help educate children from poor families. The market was beginning to come, alive with vendors setting up their stalls and early customers searching for the best selection of goods. Maya moved through the familiar maze of merchants with practiced efficiency, selecting fresh bread from the baker she trusted most and examining vegetables with the careful eye of someone who had to make every coin count. Lucas watched her with growing admiration, impressed by her knowledge and skill in managing household expenses. "You have a good relationship with these merchants," Lucas observed as they left the bread stall. "They seem to respect you." Maya smiled, pleased by his compliment. "My father taught me that treating others with kindness and fairness usually brings the same in return. Most of these vendors have known me for years, and they know I won't waste their time with foolish bargaining." She selected some apples from a fruit seller, carefully examining each one. "Master Pemberton trusts me to get good value for his money." As they made their way back toward the Palace District, Lucas found himself wishing their morning walk could last longer. Being with Maya felt natural and right in a way he had never experienced with anyone else. Her gentle manner and quick intelligence fascinated him, and he was already planning how he might arrange to spend more time with her. "Maya," Lucas said as they approached the familiar intersection where they had first truly met, "would you think it inappropriate if I asked to walk with you again tomorrow morning? And perhaps other mornings as well?" Maya's heart leaped at his request, but she also felt a flutter of concern. "What will the other guards think if they see you with a servant girl every morning?" she asked. "I wouldn't want to cause problems for your position at the palace." Lucas had already considered this potential difficulty. Palace guards were expected to maintain certain standards of conduct, and forming relationships with local civilians required careful navigation. However, he also knew that as long as his duties were performed excellently and his behavior remained honorable, his personal life was his own business. "Let me worry about that," Lucas replied firmly. "My service record is strong and Sergeant Martinez respects my judgment. As long as I continue to perform my duties well, there should be no issues." He paused, looking directly into Maya's eyes. "Unless you have concerns about being seen with me?" Maya shook her head quickly. The truth was that being accompanied by Lucas made her feel proud rather than embarrassed. Several of her fellow servants had already noticed and commented with admiration about the handsome guard who had rescued her. "I have no concerns about that at all," she said softly. "I would be honored to have your company." Over the following weeks, Lucas and Maya's morning walks became a cherished routine for both of them. Lucas began timing his guard shifts to ensure he would be free during Maya's market trips, and Maya found herself looking forward to these conversations more than anything else in her day. They talked about books they had read, stories from their childhoods, and dreams they harbored for their futures. Maya learned that Lucas had originally planned to become a teacher like his father, but his family's financial needs had led him to the more immediately profitable career of palace service. He still hoped someday to return to his home village and establish a school there, using his savings from his guard wages to build something meaningful for future generations. Lucas discovered that Maya's education extended far beyond basic reading and writing. Her father had taught her mathematics, history, and even some Latin phrases he had learned from traveling scholars. She possessed a natural curiosity about the world beyond their city, and often asked Lucas about the different regions he had seen during his military training. Their friendship deepened gradually, built on mutual respect and genuine affection. Lucas never presumed to take advantage of Maya's gratitude for saving her life, and Maya never expected special treatment because of their developing relationship. Both understood that they came from different social positions, but they also recognized that their personal values and character were remarkably compatible. One morning, as they stood selecting vegetables at the market, Maya noticed a well-dressed woman watching them with obvious disapproval. The woman whispered something to her companion and pointed directly at Maya and Lucas. Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, suddenly aware that their daily meetings might be creating gossip among the wealthy families in the district. Lucas noticed Maya's discomfort and followed her gaze to the whispering women. His jaw tightened slightly, but he maintained his composure and continued their conversation naturally. After they moved away from that particular stall, he addressed Maya's obvious distress. "Pay no attention to people like that," Lucas said quietly but firmly. "They have nothing better to do than create drama about other people's lives. We have done nothing wrong or inappropriate." Maya nodded, but she couldn't shake the feeling that their friendship might eventually cause problems for both of them. "What if word reaches your superiors at the palace?" she asked. "What if they decide you're not maintaining proper professional standards?" Lucas had actually received a few casual comments from fellow guards about his regular appearances with Maya, but so far the remarks had been good-natured rather than critical. His excellent performance record and reputation for integrity provided him with some protection against petty gossip. More importantly, he was beginning to realize that his feelings for Maya had grown far beyond simple friendship. "Maya, I need to tell you something," Lucas said as they paused near the fountain in the market square. "These past weeks of walking and talking with you have become the most important part of my day. I find myself thinking about our conversations when I'm on duty, and planning things I want to share with you." He took a deep breath. "I believe I'm falling in love with you." Maya's heart stopped for a moment as she processed Lucas's words. She had been fighting her own growing feelings, telling herself that nothing permanent could come of their friendship due to their different social positions. But hearing Lucas express his emotions so honestly made her realize that her own feelings had developed just as deeply. "Lucas," she said softly, looking into his earnest brown eyes, "I have been trying to convince myself that what I feel for you is just gratitude. But that's not true anymore. I think about you constantly, and I treasure every moment we spend together. I believe I'm falling in love with you too." Standing there beside the ancient fountain, with the morning sun streaming down on them and the sounds of the bustling market surrounding them, Maya and Lucas acknowledged that their relationship had transformed into something precious and profound. They both understood that the path ahead would not be easy, but they also knew that what they had found together was worth fighting for. Neither of them could have predicted that their honest declaration of love would soon be tested in ways they never could have imagined. The morning sun cast long shadows across the cobblestone street as Maya hurried toward the Grand Palace gates. Her worn leather bag bounced against her hip with each quick step, filled with fresh bread and milk she had bought from the market for her employer's breakfast. At 23, she had been working as a house servant for the wealthy merchant family living just 2 blocks from the royal palace for nearly 3 years. Maya loved this part of her daily routine. The early morning walk allowed her to see the palace guards changing shifts, their crisp uniforms gleaming in the golden light. She had always been fascinated by the grandeur of the palace, its towering walls and magnificent architecture that seemed to touch the sky itself. Sometimes she would slow her pace just to admire the intricate carvings on the massive wooden doors, or watch the colorful flags flutter in the gentle breeze. Today felt different somehow. The air seemed charged with an unusual energy, though Maya couldn't quite put her finger on why. Perhaps it was because the annual harvest festival was approaching, and the entire city buzzed with excitement and preparation. Vendors had already begun setting up their stalls along the main roads, and the sweet aroma of freshly baked pastries mixed with the scent of blooming flowers from the palace gardens. As she approached the familiar intersection near the palace's eastern wall, Maya noticed more guards than usual positioned along the perimeter. Their stance seemed more alert, their eyes scanning the crowd with heightened attention. She wondered if some important dignitary was expected to arrive today. The thought made her unconsciously straighten her simple brown dress and adjust the colorful scarf her grandmother had given her years ago. Captain Lucas Rivera stood at his usual post near the main entrance, his dark eyes methodically surveying the morning crowd. At 28, he had served the Royal Guard for 6 years, working his way up from a simple foot soldier to one of the most trusted officers in the regiment. His colleagues respected his sharp instincts and unwavering dedication to protecting the royal family and maintaining order around the palace grounds. Lucas had noticed the young woman before during his morning duties. She passed by almost every day at the same time, always carrying her market bag and walking with purpose toward the residential district. There was something about her graceful movement and the way she would glance admiringly at the palace that had caught his attention over the months. He found himself unconsciously looking for her familiar figure each morning, though he had never spoken to her or even made eye contact. Today, however, something felt wrong. Lucas couldn't shake the feeling that danger lurked nearby. His years of training had taught him to trust these instincts, and the subtle tension he sensed in the air made him extra vigilant. He had positioned additional guards at strategic points and instructed them to watch for anything unusual in the crowd. Maya was almost directly in front of the palace gates when she heard the thundering sound of hooves approaching from behind. She turned to see a horse-drawn carriage racing down the street at an alarming speed, the driver seemingly struggling to control the panicked animals. Other pedestrians began shouting warnings and scrambling to get out of the way as the carriage careened wildly from side to side. The beautiful bay horses had somehow broken free from their handler at the nearby stable and were now running in pure terror, their eyes wide with fear. The empty carriage they dragged behind them bounced dangerously on the uneven cobblestones, creating a deafening noise that only frightened the animals more. Maya realized with growing horror that the runaway carriage was heading directly toward the crowd of people gathered near the palace entrance. In that split second, Maya found herself frozen with fear. Her mind told her to run, but her legs wouldn't respond. The carriage was now only 50 feet away and closing fast. She could see the wild expression in the lead horse's eyes and hear the splintering sound of wood as the carriage wheels struck the stone curbing. Time seemed to slow down as she watched the massive animals bearing down on her, their hooves striking the ground like thunder. From his position near the gates, Lucas saw the entire scene unfolding with crystal clarity. His training kicked in immediately, and without hesitation, he began running toward Maya. His heavy boots pounded against the cobblestones as he pushed through the scattering crowd, his eyes never leaving the young woman who stood paralyzed in the path of the oncoming carriage. The distance between Lucas and Maya seemed impossibly far, yet he ran faster than he had ever run in his life. His heart hammered in his chest as he calculated whether he could reach her in time. The carriage was now less than 30 feet away, and Maya still hadn't moved. Lucas could see the terror in her eyes as she finally seemed to comprehend the danger racing toward her. With a final burst of speed, Lucas launched himself toward Maya just as the lead horse reached her position. His strong arms wrapped around her waist as he tackled her to the ground, rolling both of them away from the carriage's deadly path. The heavy wooden wheel missed Maya's head by mere inches, so close that she could feel the rush of air as it passed. They landed hard on the cobblestones, Lucas using his body to cushion Maya's fall. For a moment, neither of them moved, both breathing heavily from the shock and adrenaline. The runaway carriage continued down the street for another 100 yards before the exhausted horses finally slowed to a stop, where other guards quickly moved in to secure them. As Maya slowly sat up, she realized she was looking directly into the deep brown eyes of the guard who had just saved her life. Despite the chaos and fear of the moment, she noticed how kind his eyes looked and how his strong hands had protected her from harm. Lucas found himself staring back at her, struck by her beauty and the courage she showed in that terrifying moment. Neither of them spoke at first, both still processing what had just happened. Around them, other guards and concerned citizens began gathering to check on their condition and ensure they weren't seriously injured. But in that quiet moment between Maya and Lucas, something significant had begun that would change both of their lives forever. 2 weeks after their confession of love, Lucas and Maya's relationship faced its first serious challenge. Word of their daily meetings had reached the ears of Lady Catherine Pemberton, Master Pemberton's wife, through the gossiping network of wealthy women in the district. Lady Catherine was a stern woman who believed strongly in maintaining strict social boundaries and proper behavior among her household staff. Maya was called into the main sitting room one afternoon, where Lady Catherine waited with an expression of severe disapproval. The room was elegantly furnished with expensive furniture and delicate porcelain decorations, making Maya feel even more aware of her humble position in the household. "Maya, I have heard disturbing reports about your conduct," Lady Catherine began without any preliminary pleasantries. "It appears you have been carrying on with one of the palace guards during your morning market trips. This behavior is completely inappropriate for a young woman in our employ." Maya felt her face flush with embarrassment, but she kept her voice steady and respectful. "My lady, Captain Rivera and I have done nothing improper. He has been kind enough to ensure my safety while I complete my marketing duties, especially since the accident with the runaway carriage." Lady Catherine's expression remained stern. That incident was weeks ago, Maya. There is no longer any need for a guard escort, yet the reports continue. People are beginning to talk, and such gossip reflects poorly on our household. I will not have my servants becoming the subject of unseemly speculation. Maya realized that her position in the Pemberton household was being threatened, and with it, her ability to send wages to her mother in the village. The thought of losing her employment filled her with panic, but she also couldn't bear the idea of ending her relationship with Lucas. I understand your concerns, my lady, Maya replied carefully. Perhaps I could arrange to complete my marketing duties at different times to avoid any appearance of impropriety. Lady Catherine shook her head firmly. The solution is much simpler than that. You will inform this guard that your association with him must end immediately. A servant girl has no business forming attachments with men above her station. It will only lead to heartbreak and ruin for you and scandal for us. That evening, Maya met Lucas at their usual spot near the palace gates. Her distressed expression immediately told him that something serious had happened, and he listened with growing anger as she explained Lady Catherine's ultimatum. She's threatening to dismiss you if you continue seeing me, Lucas asked, his voice tight with controlled fury. What right does she have to dictate your personal relationships? You fulfill your duties excellently, and what you do in your own time should be your own business. Maya appreciated Lucas's indignation on her behalf, but she also understood the reality of her situation better than he did. Lucas, I'm a servant. I have very few rights in this matter. Lady Catherine provides my employment, my shelter, and my means of supporting my mother. If she dismisses me, I would have great difficulty finding another position, especially if she provides a poor reference. Lucas began pacing back and forth, his mind working through possible solutions. What if I spoke to Master Pemberton directly? Man to man, explaining that my intentions toward you are completely honorable. Perhaps if he understood that I'm serious about our relationship, he might convince his wife to be more reasonable. Maya shook her head sadly. Master Pemberton may be kind, but he would never contradict his wife on a matter involving household management. And honestly, even if he did support us, what future could we really have together? You're a palace guard with prospects for advancement, and I'm just a servant girl with no family connections or dowry. Lucas stopped pacing and took Maya's hands in his. Don't say that about yourself. You're intelligent, educated, kind, and beautiful. Your worth isn't determined by your current position or your family's wealth. I don't care about dowries or social connections. Maya looked into Lucas's sincere eyes and felt her heart breaking. But the world cares about those things, Lucas. Even if we could find a way to be together now, what about later? What if your captain decides to promote you to a position that requires marriage within certain social circles? What if your family needs you to marry someone who can bring financial benefits? These questions had been troubling Lucas as well, though he had been trying to push such concerns aside. Palace guards who rose to higher ranks often were expected to make marriages that enhanced their social standing and created useful political connections. His own family's financial struggles made the idea of a wealthy marriage practically attractive, even if it held no emotional appeal. Maya, all I know is that I love you, Lucas said quietly. I can't imagine my life without you in it. We'll find a way to overcome these obstacles. Maya wanted desperately to believe him, but the practical realities of their situation seemed overwhelming. That night, she lay awake considering her limited options. She could continue seeing Lucas and risk losing her employment, leaving both her and her mother in financial crisis. Or she could end their relationship and keep her position, but lose the love that had become the most precious thing in her life. The next morning, Maya made a decision that surprised even herself. Instead of avoiding Lucas or meeting him with news that their relationship must end, she sought him out with a different proposal entirely. Lucas, I've been thinking all night about our situation, Maya began when she found him at his guard post. What if there was a way we could be together that didn't threaten either of our positions? What if we could find a solution that satisfied the social expectations while still allowing us to build a life together? Lucas looked at her with curiosity and hope. What do you have in mind? Maya took a deep breath before continuing. What if you asked Master Pemberton for permission to court me formally, with the intention of marriage? If our relationship had his official blessing and a clear, honorable purpose, Lady Catherine couldn't object to it as inappropriate behavior. Lucas was quiet for a moment considering this suggestion. You're talking about a formal engagement, he said slowly.
Maya, I would be honored to marry you, but are you certain that's what you want?
Marriage is a permanent commitment, and we've only known each other for a few weeks. Maya had thought about this extensively during her sleepless night. I know my own heart, Lucas. I love you, and I believe we could build a good life together. We share the same values and dreams, and we enjoy each other's company. Many successful marriages have been built on less. Lucas felt his heart soar at Maya's words. The idea of marriage to her appealed to him more than he had dared to admit, even to himself. If that's truly what you want, then I'll speak to Master Pemberton today. I'll ask for his permission to court you properly, with marriage as our intention. Maya smiled for the first time in days. There's one more thing, Lucas. If we're going to do this, we need to do it right. You should ask for a meeting with Master Pemberton in his study, dressed in your best uniform. Explain your position at the palace, your prospects for advancement, and your ability to support a wife. Show him that you're a serious, responsible man who will treat his servant well. Lucas nodded, understanding that Maya's suggestions came from her practical knowledge of how the wealthy merchant class thought about such matters. I'll request a meeting for this evening. Maya, are you absolutely certain about this? Once I speak to Master Pemberton, there will be no going back to our casual friendship. Maya looked into Lucas's eyes with complete certainty. I'm sure, Lucas, I want to build a life with you, whatever challenges that might bring. As Lucas prepared for the most important conversation of his life, both he and Maya felt that they were taking a tremendous leap of faith. They were betting their futures on a love that had grown from a moment of crisis into something deep and enduring. Whether their gamble would succeed remained to be seen, but they were determined to fight for their chance at happiness together. That evening, Lucas stood outside Master Pemberton's study door, wearing his finest dress uniform and holding his military cap under his arm. He had spent the afternoon preparing his presentation, thinking through every point he needed to make to convince the merchant that his intentions toward Maya were honorable and his prospects were solid. Master Pemberton, a portly man in his 50s with kind eyes and graying temples, welcomed Lucas into his comfortable study. The room was lined with ledger books and samples of fine silks from around the world, evidence of the merchant's successful business ventures. Lucas had met Master Pemberton briefly on the day of Maya's accident, but this formal meeting felt much more significant. Captain Rivera, please sit down, Master Pemberton said, gesturing to a leather chair across from his desk. Maya mentioned that you wished to speak with me about a personal matter. How may I help you? Lucas took a deep breath and began the speech he had rehearsed. Sir, I have come to request your permission to court Maya formally, with the intention of asking for her hand in marriage. I realize this may seem sudden, but I want you to understand that my feelings for her are sincere and my intentions are completely honorable. Master Pemberton's eyebrows rose in surprise, though he had suspected this might be the reason for Lucas's visit. This is indeed a serious matter, Captain. Tell me, what makes you believe you would be a suitable husband for one of my household members? Lucas had prepared for this question. I have served in the palace guard for 6 years and have been promoted to captain, based on my performance and leadership abilities. My salary is sufficient to support a wife comfortably, and I have been saving money with the goal of eventually purchasing property in my home village. I come from a respectable farming family, and my character references from my military superiors are excellent. Master Pemberton listened carefully, impressed by Lucas's straightforward manner and obvious preparation. These are all admirable qualities, Captain. But tell me, what do you know of Maya's background and circumstances? Do you understand the responsibilities you would be taking on? Lucas nodded. I know that Maya sends most of her wages to support her widowed mother in the neighboring village. I would be honored to continue that support after our marriage, and I would also welcome her mother to live with us if she desired. Maya has told me about her father's work as a teacher, and her own dream of establishing a school for underprivileged children. I share those educational goals and would support her in pursuing them. Master Pemberton was quiet for several minutes, considering Lucas's words. The merchant had always been fond of Maya, appreciating her intelligence and dedication to her duties. He had also been impressed by Lucas's heroic actions during the carriage accident and his respectful behavior afterward. Captain Rivera, I must be honest with you, Master Pemberton finally said. My wife has expressed concerns about Maya's association with you, She believes that such relationships between different social classes often end badly for the woman involved. Lucas leaned forward earnestly. Sir, I understand Lady Catherine's concerns and they're not unreasonable. But I want to assure you that I would never take advantage of Maya's feelings or abandon her after making commitments. If you grant your permission, I would want to announce our engagement publicly and set a definite date for our wedding. There would